Okay, let's dive right in. We're about to tackle one of history's most famous and most cryptic prophecies. But our starting point isn't some dusty ancient scroll. Nope, it's a real place you can find on a map, the Great Euphrates River.
So why a river? Well, according to the fascinating geopolitical analysis we're breaking down today, this river isn't just a body of water. Not at all. It's a boundary, a line on a map that holds the key to understanding a massive, four-part event predicted thousands of years ago.
So here's our game plan for cracking this code. First, we'll look at the prophecy itself and the river at its very heart. Then, we're going to uncover this hidden geopolitical map it describes and see how it fits a bigger, consistent pattern. After that, we'll break down the two-stage event it predicts, connect it all to today's headlines, and finally, make a really crucial clarification that just might change how you see the entire picture.
All right, first things first. Our biggest clue is the incredible geographic specificity here. The book of Revelation doesn't point to some mythical faraway place. It points directly, and I mean directly, to the Euphrates River.
Now, this is where a tiny little word makes a huge difference. The original text uses the Greek preposition epi, which means at, upon, or in the domain of. So these messengers aren't chained up in the water. They're being restrained at this boundary. And trust me, that one small word changes everything.
So if the river isn't a physical prison, then what is it? Well, according to this interpretation, it's a line of authority, a jurisdictional restraint. So let's unpack what that actually means.
Jurisdictional restraint, it sounds kind of technical, but the idea is actually pretty simple. Think of it like a border in a strategy game. You can't just move your pieces past that line until the rules of the game change. This analysis argues that the Euphrates works as exactly that kind of limit.
And this slide right here shows you why it's so unique. Historically, the Euphrates was a one-of-a-kind frontier. It formed the border for four huge ancient powers, all at the same time: the Roman Empire to the west, Assyria to the north, Babylon to the south, and Persia to the east. It was a four-way geopolitical hinge point.
Now here's the kicker. Fast forward to today, and that ancient pattern holds perfectly. The exact same four quadrants are now home to four modern nations: Turkey, Syria, Iraq, and Iran. The ancient map and the modern one, they line up. It's uncanny.
So you have to understand, this number 4 isn't just a coincidence. Not at all. It's actually part of a much larger biblical pattern, a kind of code, related to territory and divine judgment.
You see this four winds idea pop up again and again throughout the scriptures. It consistently represents four directions, four agents, four zones of action on the earth. So this interpretation sees the four messengers at the Euphrates as one specific major activation of this very same pattern.
Okay, but it gets even deeper. We're not just looking at one single event. The idea here is that it's actually a two-phase process, one that's described across two totally separate chapters of Revelation.
Let's break this down. In Revelation 9, the agents are released. It's like they get the green light, the authority to act. But then, later on in Revelation 16, the river itself dries up, which symbolizes the total collapse of that boundary. That gives the forces on the ground the open space they need to move. Two different things: acting versus moving. So you see the mechanism, right? It's a clear sequence. Step 1, release. The agents get the authority to operate. Step 2, collapse. The boundary itself is removed, wiping out the barriers. And step 3, mobilization. Now massive forces can move across the entire region without anything holding them back.
And this is where it stops being ancient history and starts sounding like tonight's news. Because this specific area isn't some quiet, forgotten corner of the world. It is arguably the most volatile and contested region on the entire planet. I mean, just look at the sheer scale we're talking about. These four nations in this one quadrant represent over 230 million people. The potential for a regional conflict, for a mass mobilization, it is absolutely immense.
And the text of Revelation is shockingly direct about the consequences. It states that the outcome of this event is the death of a third of mankind. Let that sink in for a second. That's a staggering figure that really underscores the global scale of what's being described here.
And that's really the bottom line. This isn't just theory. As the source material points out, these four nations are at ground zero for pretty much every proxy war, resource dispute, and political crisis defining the modern Middle East. The stage, you could say, is already set.
Okay, but before we wrap this up, there's one last vital piece of the puzzle we have to put in place. It's a crucial distinction that refines this entire interpretation.
The source material is crystal clear on this. The four messengers are not literally the nations themselves. They're not Turkey or Iran. It's better to think of them as distinct forces. You could say principalities or spiritual agents, whose zone of influence, their jurisdiction, is tied to these four specific quadrants on the map.
This quote really just sums it up perfectly. The geopolitical chaos we might see erupting in these nations, well, that's the result of these messengers being released. The nations are the theater of operations, they're the stage, but they aren't the primary actors themselves. It's a subtle point, but a critical one.
So we're left with this question, aren't we? If this entire prophetic mechanism is anchored to a real geopolitical boundary, a specific hinge point on the map, what does it mean for us right now, as we watch the diplomatic, military, and strategic restraints on that very hinge weaken before our eyes?